Welcome back to My Car Cave. I just recently got the George Russell first win from the Brazilian Grand Prix from Minichamps. As you can see, this is a limited edition of 324. Comes in the standard window box from Minichamps. And in front of it is the Bahrain version or variant of the Mercedes driven by Hamilton. This one produced by Spark. Comes with the acrylic cover. I don't have it out. But anyways, I wanted to take the opportunity to take these two cars side by side and look at them and see the differences between Spark and Minichamps. Help you decide if you want to buy Minichamps or Spark for the 2022 or even 2023 season. Okay, now I've gotten the Russell car out of the box. Let's go ahead and look at these two cars. Just as a general comment, side by side, they look like the same length. They look pretty similar. But, I will say right off the bat, I noticed the nose of the Russell car, the Minichamps, much higher than the Spark version. Not sure which is correct, but, the Spark version looks better in this area. Let's go ahead and look at the bottom of the cars. They're pretty standard for these days. You see the kind of the brown wooden plank here, but, pretty standard fare for a Minichamps underneath the car. When it comes to the Spark car, however, you do not have the painted plank here, wooden plank here, or resin plank. You do have these little flip outs or wind direction parts on the Spark that are not on the Minichamps, and that may simply just be the difference in the floorboards at the time of the season. Spark have these, places where the screws go in. That's not as well executed on the Spark as it was on the Minichamps. Okay, so let's start with the nose section of the car, or the front wing. Looking at the Minichamps, it's a very nice looking wing up at first glance. The decals are nice. It's got this carbon fiber decal, which I think Minichamps really does a good job at. It's kind of got a gray color with the stripes or striations, which I just think, looks good. You can see it. You can tell there's been some work there. And so, I think Minichamps here does a great job. All these parts connectors are all plastic painted, but that's, what you're going to get. The biggest knock on the front wing, besides the height, which I don't know what's correct. I'll have to look online at a photo. But anyways, the biggest knock for Minichamps, I think if you watch many of these reviews, people comment that the wing is a solid piece. So if you look under here, it's solid. You cannot see a separation in the wing planes, and that's just obviously a simpler, cheaper way to make that part. And so I can't blame them, but your competition does other things, and so that's something that definitely is, for a detailed buyer, that may be important. Looking at the Spark version, as we were talking, these wing planes are all separated. You can see my finger behind there. It's fragile, but it's a great detail. It's obviously super realistic, and I can appreciate that. So Spark definitely has done a good job with their front wing. Like I said, it's lower than the wing on the Minichamps. Again, I'm not sure what's correct. Also, another thing Spark has done is they've done these little sensors. There's one here, and then one in this little corner. I'm not sure if you can pick that up. But anyways, those are not on the Minichamps, and that's just another knock. And here again, you can see these cutouts here, making this more realistic version of the front wing. And I can appreciate the effort that Spark does there. The decal, or the carbon fiber decal here, it's a darker color. You can see the striations, but it's darker. It doesn't look quite as prominent as it does on the Minichamps. So I'll have to give that to Minichamps. But anyway, Spark overall probably makes a better front wing in terms of detail. This particular race, Mercedes ran a new kind of aero variant along the nose here. So this kind of flares out from the nose up here, a little bit wider. And that's race specific. That was kind of run later season. So that's something that's different than on, say, the Spark version. The two aerials or radio communications are done in plastic. That's fine, but it's not photo etched for those of you who prefer that. But yeah, overall, this wheel section looks great from Minichamps. I think they are probably do the better job with the wheels, in my opinion. Plus, I like this extra detail from a race specific aero design. Looking at the Spark version, again, I think the wheel stripes on the Sparks, the color is not as good. It's a little bit darker, it's thicker. It doesn't look as right to me. It's brighter on camera than it is in person. But overall, I mean, they do a nice job. I still think Minichamps does a better job. I don't see the wheel details up here that you do on the Minichamps. Is the edge of the wheels. Again, this one's different. This is the standard front area around the suspension, not that arrowed bit that we saw on the Minichamps. That was consistent with the early versions of these cars, which this one is. The parts, the aerials or radio communications, those are photo etched, and for this antenna back here, that looks great. But I got to be honest, with this aerial, it's so narrow and thin because it's photo etched. It doesn't look right. They would have a little bit thicker um, feel to it in real life or look to it in real life. So that's one instance where I think photo etching is probably not the correct choice. The wheel eyebrows, again, you can see the carbon fiber decals or details are nice. The slit looks like it's there. It's not actually there, but again, I think both these cars, it's a toss up. I'm always in favor of the Minichamps wheels historically. So again, that's another area where I would give Minichamps the nod in this case. Next up, let's look at the cockpit. This area, with the driver figures, they both have driver figures. The biggest difference these days is Minichamps has moved on to this kind of iridium lens look, this purple effect on here. I like it. Some people don't like it. It can be too much. I honestly, I find it depends on the helmet and the car and whatnot. And so, anyways, that's kind of an up in the air detail. It's more um, current, so I do prefer that over the brown stickers that they have been using or decals they've been using forever. This is typical Minichamps helmet. Nothing special about it. The cockpit, the typical stickers and plastic parts. Nothing particularly special or different than the usual Minichamps release. Though I've always appreciated Minichamps' helmets. I think they've done a good job, and so nothing to complain about there. Now this is the Spark variant. Now Spark, as we've talked about in other videos, does this helmet where the lens is actually a clear or brown tinted lens and there's a driver figure face inside, and that's overkill in my opinion. It's hard to see unless you really shine a light in there. For the most part, it looks like a brown sticker that Minichamps used to use, unless you put light through that. So it's a detail that, it's nice, but again, it's overkill in my opinion. So I don't appreciate the effort there. That said, the Spark version is very nice. You got Lewis's Aero helmet. You don't see that on the Russell one. Not sure which one's accurate. Anyways, the Aero helmet, you see that little flip up back there is correct. Spark uses a cloth and photo etched seat belt, so that's kind of a nice detail. It's better than what Minichamps is offering. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a toss up. One thing I do notice is on this one, there's no aerofoil here on the safety bar. There is one on the Minichamps, which is accurate, I think, both cases for the race. So Minichamps has this aerofoil here that you do not see on the Spark version, but that is race specific, and they are different. Moving on to the main body of the car, this is where I think things get a little bit different and a little more questionable as to who is correct and who's not. Right off the bat, Minichamps uses a plastic stabilizer here instead of a metal one. I don't like that. It's kind of cheap and it's too thick and it's not right. Now, here's where it becomes interesting. The stars here are kind of a gray, ghosted in star, and on the Spark, it's a glossy chrome effect. And when I look at photos online, it's questionable. I don't think they actually were chrome. It does look better in person, but I don't think it's actually correct. So I'm gonna have to give this to Minichamps. And additionally, around the Patronus, they use a kind of just a silver coloring, which is different than the Spark, but I think actually more accurate. Also, what I do like or find different, Minichamps here, they pull the die-cast part further out into the mold, rather than taking the easy seam right here. That's, I think, a nice detail. It's done in a good carbon fiber. It's different from the base. It's distinguishable. It's more accurate, in my opinion, in terms of color. You have the striation. You have this black box here. All of that looks correct, and easy to see here. So, again, I always give the nod, I think, to Minichamps on their carbon fiber decals. And then, differences here, you have different slits based on the venting for the specific race. Both are correct, so no complaints. No one does it better, I think. The silver ones look a little nicer. The black ones are kind of I don't know, it's got a carbon fiber decal on it, but it almost just looks like glossy paint. So, it's not bad, but it looks kind of not as good as it maybe could have. So, anyways, overall the shape of the car is correct. There's some little additives like this arrow bit here that's correct. I will say here, these little fine fins or air tuning fins here look better on the Minichamps. They're individual. They look like they're more or less pointed in the correct direction. So that's just a nice touch on the Minichamps. Okay, looking at the Spark version, like I said, the first thing, I kind of want to touch on is you can see here it's a metal tie back. That's obviously way more accurate. It's thinner. It just looks better than it does on the Minichamps. Now, here's where I talked about the chrome Mercedes stars, and it's a little hard to see on the camera. You can maybe right there kind of see the chrome. Um, that looks great. It looks fantastic on the model. I love it. It makes it stand out. Although from the photos online I can see it does not look correct. I can't find a single photo online that indicates that Mercedes used a chrome paint scheme there. It's also on the Petronas on the side as well as on the rear wing, as you can see. And so that's something that, while it looks great, it's probably not accurate. Again, here, you got 3 slits, 2 slits here. Those are race specific and different from each model, so I can appreciate that. You also have a logo here that's not on the Minichamps, and that again is a race specific design. This is what I'm talking about. These little air fins here. They On the Spark, they're using again a photo etch part, so it's very thin. It just looks like one piece kind of from above. It does look fine here, but I don't think they're really actually pointing the correct direction, and that's just because of the material they're using. So, with that, I think it's again, I do prefer the chrome decals, although I do not think it's actually correct. So, yeah, that kind of is going to depend. And also back here, so this is what I was talking about on the Spark. They chose to end the die cast, or maybe it's resin here. They ended the resin part here instead of carrying it on into the bottom of the floor, which is not really accurate on the real car. The slit would have been here, or the gap would have been here. And again, their carbon fiber decal is more of a black tone to it. You can see the striations in the carbon fiber detail, but it just doesn't stand out from a distance. And that fact, it just looks like black paint when you're 3 feet away. So, anyways, that's just something again that's distinguishes it from the Minichamps, and that's kind of a personal preference. But I guess I prefer Minichamps' carbon fiber decal. So let's look at the rear wing here on the Minichamps. They do a nice job. They have the FIA mandated dots for measurement. That's something that does not appear on the Spark version, but was consistent with the race in Brazil at the time. So I really like that. The overall logos it's different. It's a different logo than what you see on the Spark version because it's later in the season. Most notably, the FTX's logos are missing, and so I think that's probably when Sam Baker Friedman and his company were starting to get in trouble, and so Mercedes thought better of having them sponsoring their cars. So just a little nod to history there. Mini Champs not really doing much for a light detail here. There's a silver strip, but that's not really what the lights look like. I think it's pretty poor. Again, here they do a single mold for the rear wing. It's kind of not the quality they could be doing yet. Here they do a double wing, and they are separate pieces, which is kind of nice. The Spark one is a solid piece. So, anyways, Minichamps does a great job. I think this rear wing looks fantastic. It's accurate. No real complaints other than the light in the rear. But yeah, no, nothing, nothing out of the ordinary. And yeah, so I think you can feel comfortable. It's pretty accurate. However, like I said, it would have been better had they done a dual plane piece here in the back. Looking at the Spark rear end, again here, what I noticed is that they do not have the measurement dots that would have been on the car in the Bahrain Grand Prix. So it's a little disappointing from Spark to not have the two measurement dots that would have been there. Also, this rear flip here, I don't know if that was actually on the race car at the time. It's again in photos, it's hard to tell, so I'm not sure that that's accurate or not. Obviously, it's a different paint scheme with Ineos. The red was throughout the inside of this wing here, um, and at the bottom here they're using a single piece of plastic for the bottom wings, which is different than Minichamps. Yet up here, the larger one, they actually do have a separate wing planes, which is the way it should be. Also, they have some nice light details that don't appear on the Minichamps. So differences, definitely some differences to be had. And again, from Spark to Minichamps, they're both great models on their own. And it's only when you start looking at them together that you start seeing some of those differences. So overall, to sum up, I mean, which model would you choose? It's hard to say. I mean, there are different races, different features on these cars. I guess in this case, even though I think it's incorrect, I kind of like the chrome Mercedes. It really just shows well over the more bland, kind of ghosted Mercedes logos, even though they're not correct. I do like the reflective visor on the helmet that Minichamps does, as well as the carbon fiber decals. But I also, prefer the slits in the rear and front wings that Spark does, as well as these smaller bits and pieces that they've put on. So to decide between these two, this is a hard one. I don't know which one I'll end up keeping. It may just be down to the driver. I may just keep the Russell one because he in fact won a race in 2022 and Hamilton did not. I tend to keep the better driver, so I may keep the Minichamps in this case and trade in the Spark. But they're both excellent. The differences are very minimal. Um, so up to you on which you think is the better car to have. But both great options, and I'm sorry if that doesn't give you any more conclusion on what you'll be doing in 2023 when you decide between Spark and Minichamps. So, anyways, both are great. I think it's a toss up in this case. So, anyways, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe, hit like, and if you have any comments, please add those as well. Some more videos coming soon.